Cheers, Abu.
Cheers.
Cheers. It is April 12th, 2020. It's Easter Sunday, and we are starting what I'm going to call the Hungary Chronicles, where I'm going to speak to my dad about growing up in communism. So given that it's Easter Sunday, I wanted to know, what was it like growing up for you as a child, for eating and for holidays, and what did special occasions look like, particularly related to the food?
Okay. Where to begin? The bottom line is that food was always in short supplies. I grew up coming out of the end of the day or middle of the day of school, did some homework, but around 4 or 5 o'clock I always had to start standing in line because later on the bread supply came in a truck, and unless you stood in line, you were way back, and chances were good that by the time you got to where they distributed, where you could have bought the bread, it was gone.
So bread lines were a real thing.
Very real.
So
very real.
you would stand in line just at your local grocery store, or where?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a relatively small grocery store for a huge development, basically, and it didn't have too many shelves, and the shelves were always empty anyway.
Okay.
Always empty. So basically, a typical day was, and that was in the 60s, late 50s and 60s throughout, that when I came home from school, did some homework, after went to stand in line.
Wow. And how long would you be in line?
Typically an hour, maybe hour and a half. Saturdays could have been worse, because we had half-day school on Saturday.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And by the way, everybody worked Saturdays.
Okay.
Initially, after the Second World War, everybody worked 7 days. Then they went down to 6 days.
Wow.
And I remember when it went down to 5.5 days. And later on, it became a 5 days. It was called a free Saturday.
Free Saturday. I remember you talking about free Saturdays before.
Right.
Wow.
So it was the free Saturdays, and the lines were probably the longest on Saturdays.
Okay.
So my parents sent the kids out to stand in line, and they came to actually buy because I didn't have any money, buy the things.
So you would hold the place in line, and they would meet you at some point along the way.
Right.
Wow.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So that was about the bread, typically.
Okay.
Because I had to admit the bread was good. It was fresh, freshly made.
If you
crusty,
got it, right.
If I got it.
Right.
Yeah, if I got it. And it was so good that my brother used to eat the crust, the end, for which he always got spanked. Uncle Pete.
Uncle Pete.
Yeah,
so let me ask you this then. Would you eat all of the bread that night, and what did you eat during the day?
During the day, whatever leftovers we had.
Okay.
Leftovers were always consumed the next day.
What did leftovers look like? What was that?
Depending on what it was, like stuffed cabbages.
Okay.
Or goulash. Hated that.
Okay.
Hated that.
You still hate it.
I still hate it. Various other cooked items with usually very little and shitty, fat, chewy meats.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Pork. Various pork meats.
So there was very little beef to be had.
Zero beef.
Zero beef.
Zero beef. I haven't had beef until I came to the US.
No kidding.
Yep, 77.
Wow,
Because
I didn't know
beef, over there, pork was everything. Beef was not. Cows were not butchered because they were more important for the milk.
Milk.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Maybe if you lived in a village, those guys typically had a better life in terms of food because they had their own backyard.
Oh, right.
They could grow stuff.
Okay.
And they had their own animals. They always had a butchering around Christmas time. They killed, not killed, butchered at least one piggy, maybe two piggies. And some of those piggies were about 200 kilos plus, 200 kilos plus. So 450 pounds plus.
Big hogs.
Big hogs. And that provided enough meal and enough sausage for the rest of the day. Rest of the year, I'm sorry.
Wow, okay, yeah.